Anthony Ginting can still secure himself a second seed at the Tokyo Olympics later this year. To do that, he must play well in the last two qualification tournaments, Malaysia Open and Singapore Open, who also count towards the ranking list, the Race to Tokyo list that determines the seedings for the upcoming Olympic Games. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a look at what's at stake for the world's best men's singles players in the last tournaments before the cutoff date for the Race to Tokyo Olympic qualifying list that also serves as the list determining the seeding for the Olympic Games. So here is the current standings of the Race to Tokyo ranking list. It is not the same as the world ranking list. It's the same principles, 10 best tournament counts. As you can see here, Kento Momota is locked into number one. He is more than 20,000 points ahead of Chou, Tien on second place, and thus Kento Momota is certain of being the top seed for the Olympic Games on home soil. In second place, Chou Tien has a 4,000 point lead over the winner of the 2020 World Tour Finals, Antonsen of Denmark. And Antonsen again has approximately 5,000 points on Viktor Axelsen and Anthony Sinisuka Ginting. Those two players are really, really close. But let's take a look at the maths and what the possibilities are in the tournaments coming up. So Chou Chen is in good shape to secure his second spot in the ranking and thus the second seed, but he's not at all safe. His nearest challenger is Antonsen. He's just under 4,000 points behind Chou Tien. Antonsen and Axelsen, they are playing 4 tournaments in 6 weeks, starting with the European Championships in Kiev, then India Open and Malaysia Open and Singapore, whereas Chou and Anthony Ginting have chosen only to play the last 2 of those tournaments. So in the top table you can see what the players' currently worst record is for their 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th best tournament. For Ginting and Chou, it's only the 9th and 10th tournament that they're only playing 2 more tournaments, so you can only better the results in those 2 tournaments. Then there's how many points it's possible to gain by winning the rest of the tournaments you play in, and also how many points is the difference to the followers behind you in the list. So for Chou, the nearest challenger is Antonsen. The bad news for Chou is that his worst tournaments is 6,600 points each, so he really needs to play well to do better. If he doesn't better his score, then Antonsen can pass him by reaching runners-up in Malaysia and one of the 2 Super 500s in India or Singapore, or he could win one of those and finish in the semi-final in Malaysia Open. That would be enough to surpass Chou Tien. And even though Momota lost in the All England to the later champion Li Sijia, I think most players would want to be as far away from Momota in that draw as possible. Now, a bit surprisingly to many perhaps is that the same results as Antonsen would be enough for Ginting as well to surpass Chou Tien. The tricky thing here is that the 2 worst tournaments that Ginting has counting towards his ranking score at the moment is 3,850 and 3,600 points. Very low scores there, so there's potential for a quite big gain in score for Ginting if he plays well in Malaysia and Singapore. He needs to finish runner-up in both tournaments, then it's settled, or he can finish in the semi-final of Malaysia Open and win Singapore Open, and then he would also surpass Chou, provided that Chou doesn't improve his point score. It's not that unlikely that Anthony Ginting, who's one of the best wind players on the circuit, in my opinion, that he should be able to pull off a win in, for instance, Singapore, with the very windy stadium there. Now there is one extra challenger for Chen to be wary of, and that's Viktor Axelsen, the winner of the two Super 1000 tournaments in Thailand early in January. He can also surpass Chou Tien with a good performance in the last tournaments before the cutoff date, and there is actually a scenario where both Antonsen, Viktor Axelsen and Anthony Ginting surpasses Chou Tien, who would then end up in 5th place. That's why it's so important for Chou to do well and improve his score in either Malaysia or Singapore. Now Antonsen, who is chasing the second seed, he also has to look behind a little bit, because Viktor Axelsen and Anthony Ginting could eventually surpass him if they do well, and Antonsen is not really making good results in these last two tournaments. So there's a lot of pressure on the young Dane as well. The same goes for Viktor Axelsen. He can look upwards and hope to overtake either Antonsen or Chou, but it's Ginting who really puts pressure on the first three players here, because he has a lot of points potentially to win in Malaysia and Singapore. So that's why I think we see all these 5 players compete in especially Malaysia and Singapore, but that's also one of the reasons why Antonsen and Axelsen, they have chosen to play India Open and go through this grueling 6 weeks of competition. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how things will unfold in the next 2 months before the cutoff date, and hopefully you're watching on TV somewhere, and perhaps even on the BWF YouTube channel. Now, if you like this little video about what's at stake in men's singles in the upcoming tournaments, then please consider subscribing to the channel and give us a like to support the channel. And then until next time, bye for now.